Have you ever found yourself talking, really talking, and suddenly realizing no one is listening anymore? Not interrupting you, not arguing with you, just drifting away. If you're a little older, you know exactly what I mean. I'm 75 years old. My name isn't important yet. What matters is that I've lived long enough to be ignored in rooms I once commanded, overlooked in conversations I helped shape, and gently dismissed with polite smiles that said, "You're from another time." And for a long time, that hurt more than I ever admitted. When I was younger, people listened when I spoke. At work, at home, in public, my voice carried weight. But somewhere along the way, that changed, slowly, quietly. No announcement, no warning, just fewer eyes meeting mine. More phones lighting up while I spoke, more nodding without hearing. If you're a senior watching this, let me ask you something honestly. When was the last time you felt truly heard, not tolerated, not humored, heard? For years, I thought being ignored meant I was losing value, losing relevance, losing myself. I tried speaking louder, explaining more, repeating myself, and all it did was make me feel smaller. Then one day, I realized something that changed everything. Being ignored is not the problem. How we speak when ignored is. Let me explain with an analogy that took me decades to understand. Imagine you're standing beside a river. When you're young, the river is calm. You toss a stone into it, and everyone sees the ripples. They point, they react, they remember where it landed. But as life goes on, that river turns into a roaring current. Noise, speed, distraction everywhere. Now when you throw a stone, it disappears instantly. No ripples, no attention. Most people respond by throwing bigger stones, harder, louder, over and over. I did that too, but here's what 75 years taught me. It's not about throwing harder stones. It's about choosing where and when to throw them. For most of my life, I believed that being heard required urgency, emotion, volume. I thought passion alone could carry a message. But passion without presence is just noise. The turning point came in my late 60s. I was at a family gathering. Everyone was talking, laughing, phones in hand. I tried to tell a story, something meaningful to me, something I thought mattered. Halfway through, my granddaughter interrupted. No malice, just excitement. Everyone followed her attention instead. I stopped mid-sentence. No one noticed. That moment stayed with me, not because of anger, but because of clarity. I realized something uncomfortable. People weren't ignoring me because I was old. They were ignoring me because I was speaking from habit, not intention. So I stopped talking as much, and I started observing. I noticed who people leaned toward, who they paused for, who made others listen without demanding it. And it wasn't the loudest person in the room. It wasn't the smartest either. It was the calmest, the ones who spoke slowly, the ones who didn't rush to fill silence, the ones who didn't chase attention, but seemed perfectly fine without it. That's when it hit me. Silence is not weakness. Silence is gravity. When you speak less, your words weigh more. When you stop fighting to be heard, people start wondering why you're quiet. And curiosity is far more powerful than volume. I began to change how I spoke. Instead of explaining everything, I shared one sentence and stopped. Instead of defending my point, I asked a question. Instead of talking to be understood, I talked to connect. And something surprising happened. People leaned in. Not immediately. Not dramatically, but subtly. They started asking me what I thought. They waited when I paused. They listened when I finally spoke. At 75, I've learned that respect is not requested. It's created. And being ignored, painful as it is, can be the greatest teacher you'll ever have if you let it. In the next part, I want to share the biggest mistake I see seniors make when they feel unheard, and the quiet shift that turns indifference into attention without forcing a single word. Because the truth is this: your voice still matters, but how you use it matters more than ever. There is a mistake I see again and again, especially among people my age. And I understand it because I lived it for years. When we feel ignored, we try to prove ourselves. We add more details. We bring up our experience. We remind people how long we've lived, what we've seen, what we've survived. We think that if they just understood our history, they would listen. But here's the hard truth I learned late in life. People don't listen because of how much you know. At 75, I finally understood that being heard has less to do with authority and more to do with emotional timing. Let me explain with another analogy that helped me change. Think of conversation like a door. Most of us knock when we want to speak. We knock harder when no one answers. But the door only opens when someone is ready on the other side. For years, I knocked louder. I knocked longer. I knocked when the other person was distracted, stressed, or closed off. And when the door didn't open, I felt rejected. What I didn't realize was that I was knocking at the wrong time. So I started waiting. I waited for pauses. I waited for eye contact. I waited for the moment when someone finished a thought and took a breath. And when I spoke, I kept it simple. One sentence. Sometimes two. And then I stopped. That pause did more than any explanation ever could. It gave my words room to land. Another lesson took even longer to accept. Advice is rarely heard. Stories are. When I was younger, I believed wisdom meant giving answers. At 75, I know wisdom is asking the right question or sharing a moment that lets someone find their own answer. Instead of saying, "You should be careful," I learned to say, "That reminds me of a time I thought the same thing." Instead of correcting, I reflected. Instead of teaching, I shared. And people listened, not because I was right, but because I wasn't pushing. I also learned the power of tone. There's a calm tone that carries confidence without demanding attention. It says, "I don't need you to agree with me, but I'm here if you want to listen." That tone is magnetic. It comes from self-respect, not frustration. At some point, I stopped measuring my worth by how many people listened. That changed everything. When you stop needing validation, your words become cleaner, softer, stronger. You're no longer trying to win the moment. You're offering something instead. And here's the part I wish someone had told me decades ago. Not every room deserves your voice. Some people aren't ignoring you. They're incapable of listening. And that's not your failure. That's their limitation. At 75, I choose my moments carefully. I speak where there is openness. I stay quiet where there is noise. And in doing so, I am heard more than ever before. If you are watching this and you feel invisible, let me say this clearly. You are not irrelevant. You are not outdated, and you are not too late. Your voice still carries wisdom, but wisdom speaks best when it doesn't beg. Speak with intention, pause without fear, and remember this: the people who truly matter will lean in when you speak. And when they don't, silence is not defeat. It is dignity. Thank you for listening. If you found this video helping, please subscribe to the channel for more videos like this. Share the video to those who might benefit from it. Let us know of your thoughts in the comments section. We will see you in our next video. Until then, stay safe and stay blessed.